And we are back at it. Good, bad, or indifferent. We're doing this again.
Good, or better.
Episode 7,654. Oh, goodness. All right. I've been doing some research on Fortune magazine.
Disclaimer, anything he says was not really researched.
This is a bad idea. I know, right? So you're right. I've been doing some research. I've been reading this magazine.
The funny thing is,
oh my gosh,
I've been doing some research on Facebook.
Exactly. That's exactly what I sounded like. Some schmuck who's like, "Nah, I get all my information from People Magazine."
So
We're totally getting sued by People Magazine for that comment.
Probably. I'd be flattered if People Magazine thought that our podcast was threatening enough that they would sue us. Mm-hmm. Like, that would be awesome.
Seriously. The National Enquirer comes after us. Anyway.
So before you jump back in, since I pretty much derailed you, I'm going to throw out to our listeners that actually you are the person in the company that does the majority of the market research.
Like I said, good, bad, or indifferent.
If you've listened to this show for a while and, kind of got a flair for our personalities, I'm kind of the uptight stickler, love to do the numbers. And, the other Ryan, comes across as like the goofball, fly by the seat of your pants, doing whatever he feels like.
Which is pretty much true.
Except for you do all the research.
Yeah. I know.
Like 90% of it is done by you.
I know. It's scary. It's like, I totally give off this vibe that I should not be trusted.
Exactly.
And for the most part, it's true. But
it's funny because other businesses have you do research for them as well.
I know.
Like, I'm not the only one who got, suckered into this.
That usually only happens though, honestly. Like I'll do research for businesses, but it generally only happens after I have given them other advice that works out, like other good advice that they follow through with. And they're like, hey, that actually worked. They're like, actually, do you know what you're doing? It seems like you do.
Like, did you get lucky?
Exactly. So
prove it.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to test this, see if it works out. But
all right, you've been doing research.
So I was reading I was looking at Fortune magazine. They do a top 100 companies to work for.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely 100.
It's too bad that Marketing Management Money was 103. I mean, we were so close to.
Ooh, you're right. Next year, we got it in the bag.
I'll just stop. I will stop trying to derail everything.
I'll give us a better review next year.
For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, we really do get to business topics eventually.
I thought you were going to say, for those of you who are still listening.
Thanks, Mom.
I know, right? Oh, gosh.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Back to the nuts and bolts of this thing. So I was reading for the 15th time. I was reading on Fortune magazine. So they do a top 100 companies to work for. And I decided that it would be a good idea to spend my free time in my waking hours compiling lists from the past few years of what companies have made it on the list, right? And
interesting.
I only looked at the top 20 companies. I didn't really want to go too much deeper than that. Keep in mind, this is my free time, right?
The problem is, I'm suspecting that these companies are huge, like Apple, Google, IBM.
Oh, baby. Not one of those is on this list.
Oh,
right.
Now all of a sudden I'm actually interested in this episode.
I know. Okay. Don't get me wrong. These are still huge companies.
Okay.
Right? These are massive companies, but,
massive. Put it into perspective, like number of employees, revenue, years in business, brand name.
There's one company that doesn't hit the $1 billion mark. And there are one, two, three more, four more companies on this is a top 20 list. There are four more companies that don't hit the $2 billion mark. Okay. Everything else is above $2 billion.
Okay.
So
good sized companies.
I decided to break these down. I didn't feel like there was a super clean cut way to look at these lists, because let me give you a little bit of background information on what it is that Fortune magazine reports on. Okay. So they give all of the company information. They give where they're headquartered, how many employees they have, what industry they're in, year founded, yada, yada, yada. Right. Mm-hmm. And then they go into perks of the job, paid time off, compensation, if they can get those numbers. And then they do satisfaction ratings of various kinds, as well as, let's see what else here. Oh, okay. So then so as part of their kind of more technical information, they give diversity percentages, which I thought was really, that to me was really interesting. I actually probably will look more into those numbers later. Okay. They look at hiring / staffing, things like that. Okay. So I decided to go through and find out. So I first looked at this from the perspective of, from the last few years, which companies were on the list the most.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Because I figure if you're on this list,
everyone can get lucky.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're consistent, then that probably means something.
It sure means a whole lot more.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to go with the top 3, but there was actually a tie for number 1.
Oh, okay.
So the grand unveiling of which companies, there are 2, right, were most frequently on the list: Cisco and Wegmans Food Markets. Wegmans? So, I've never heard of that company ever in my life.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that either, but you got to realize, so
they were on these lists. They've been on these lists 23 times.
Dang.
Right?
Well done.
Yeah.
But see, one of the things that I realized several years ago is, so we're out here in Utah, and a lot of the major brands don't actually make it to Utah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that, I'm not familiar with, but like East Coast of the US, they're all over huge chains that I just, there is a lot more population there. And then even still, like we get a lot of stuff that filters in from California and whatnot.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
so I'm not surprised that I haven't heard of Wegmans.
I don't know how you say it.
Wegmans. Yeah.
Wegmans.
But Cisco, like the phone system?
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Information technology is their industry. They're in information technology, and I'm in speech therapy.
Good thing you're a podcast host.
Okay. So, but it's funny because I also looked at like what rank they were last year compared to this year.
Okay.
Last year they were number 6 on the list. This year they're number 4.
That's really impressive, honestly.
I know. I'm gonna quit this job. And then Wegmans Food Markets. Somebody please shoot us an email and tell me how to say that. It's like we just got Trader Joe's a few years ago. In-N-Out has been here with, it just came into Utah within the last like 12 years, 10 years. So you got to give me a little bit of a break. Help me out. I need it desperately. All right. So number 3, when we're looking at it in that way, is Edward Jones.
Oh,
right. Financial services and insurance.
Dude, for a brief minute, I thought about working for Edward Jones.
Really?
Yeah. So, I got my degree in finance.
Yeah.
And so you're exploring options.
Sure.
And one of them that I was looking at was Edward Jones. And then I realized that I don't actually enjoy financial planning.
So you just decided to do it for everybody else anyway.
No,
I don't want to work for Edward Jones to do financial planning. I'm going to go be a business consultant to do financial planning for other people.
Oh my gosh, you're showing your ignorance right now. Financial planning is securities and those kinds of things. It's not.
I used to work for Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, dude.
Did you really?
Yeah.
How did you hide that from me?
I don't know. Because it's a very
Maybe
shameful
it's
place in my life.
maybe it's all that wonderful financial insight that you have that hit it so well.
Right? Exactly. That's why I don't work there anymore. Yeah. Yeah. That was back in the day.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. Keep going with the list.
All right. So number 4. Well, number 3, since there was a tie for number 1, American Express.
Huh. Interesting.
Right?
Okay. So
Edward Jones has been on the list for 21 years. American Express has been on the list 20 years.
So bring this in.
Okay.
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm listening to this episode and I'm like, okay, there's some interesting, trivia you're giving me, but
I know, right?
How do I use this? What do I do as an entrepreneur to make a better workplace?
Why this matters. Why does anybody want to listen to this?
I geek out on finance. You geek out on like data and information.
Yeah.
And
Research.
Yeah. And like the average person is like, cut to the chase. Come on. Give me something I can use.
Okay. So I went through and I looked at like all of the perks that they listed. And
so perks are a big deal.
Yeah. And then you compare that to their satisfaction ratings that they offer, what it is that they're saying about these, their employees are saying about these companies, and the percentage out of 100 that they give them on each of these statements. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's really interesting how some of these numbers make sense and or don't make sense. So for example, some of the perks that they have listed, and this is for all of the companies that on these lists. Right?
Okay.
This isn't so Cisco may or may not have some of these. Wegmans, Edward Jones, Amazon, not Amazon, American Express.
I would be shocked if Amazon made that list.
I wouldn't want to live on this planet if Amazon made this list.
Yeah.
In their current state, anyway. I mean, if they were a different company, sure, but anyway.
I mean, I know they employ a lot of people, but I also know a lot of people that aren't super thrilled to be employed by them.
Yeah. Anyway, so they have 100% health coverage as one of the perks, unlimited 6 days, telecommuting, job sharing, subsidized childcare, compressed work weeks, fully paid sabbaticals, on-site fitness, on-site medical, health insurance for part-timers, sick days for part-timers, college tuition reimbursement. I thought this one was interesting. Non-discrimination policy includes sexual orientation as a perk.
Okay.
What is wrong with us in the world? Why can't everybody just include that? I feel like that's a basic common sense. Like, you should have this, but for some reason it's listed as a perk.
Yeah. Like non-flogging is a perk.
Yeah. Anyway. Man, I don't want to go there. So yeah, you can kind of see what they're offering there, right? So then they go through and they ask a bunch.
Now, hang on before you jump, because this is something that is super important.
Sure.
When I consult with businesses, I hear so often, "Oh well, I can't compete with someone like American Express.
Right.
I can't put a gym in my building."
Right. Ooh, I'm so glad you're asking this.
And so I look at this and I'm just like, all right, what can you do?
Right.
And there's so many options that you as a small business can do. The first thing that I want to point out is perks make a difference. A huge difference.
Right.
And so if you're solely looking at salaries and benefits, you're missing so much, especially some of the more affordable things that you can do.
Yeah.
Like people need flexibility in their lives. Yeah. And so if you can offer flexibility, boom, that's a perk. I'm shocked at how many people want to work really weird hours, and I'm like, if you can offer it, do. Not everybody wants an 8 to 5 position.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, hey, guess what? If you prefer to work 10 to 7, that's okay. And that little switch right there, you're going to get better productivity. You're going to be able to track better talent, you know, and does it really cost you? Now, in some industries, there are time, you know, you open and you close at a certain time.
Sure.
But other industries.
There are other ways to offer flexibility.
Yeah.
No, I love the direction that you're going, because that's exactly where we're headed, my friend.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So yeah,
I'm just getting excited with the data.
I know, you nerd. Okay. So, if we look at some of these satisfaction ratings, so they'll ask them, or they'll give them a statement, and then, they take the percentage of how many of their employees agree or disagree with this, right?
Okay.
To what extent, I guess.
Okay.
And then they give an overall satisfaction score as well. So we'll get into that. But some of these statements are, when you join the company, you are made to feel welcome. I am proud to tell others I work here. I feel good about the ways we contribute to the community. Customers would rate the service we deliver as excellent. Management is honest and ethical in its business practices. I am given resources and equipment to do my job. Our facilities contribute to a good working environment, and so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm. Dude, those are some good questions.
So, and these aren't obviously all of them, especially at the beginning. These are some of the more well reported on numbers, right? But nonetheless, they kind of allude to the same thing that you were talking about, which is there are different things that you can do to make your employees want to work for you.
Well,
right?
I loved the question. Management is honest and ethical.
Yeah. And again, one of those things that's like, should be commonplace and not a perk, but apparently.
Yeah.
But dude, if you offer sexual orientation and you are honest and ethical as a business owner, man, you're going to have some good talent coming your way.
But, you know,
good.
I look at this and I think that not only does it need to be there, but it needs to be transparent. And to be honest and ethical as a manager, as a boss, as a CEO, you know, it requires that people trust you. Not just, you can't just do the right thing. You have to do the right thing and have people trust that you're doing the right thing because they know that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's an interesting way to really look at, you know, job satisfaction of, you know, if you're kind of trying to fudge the line and if you're always, you know, because
oh, that can be so frustrating for employees.
Well, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I just saw what you did to him. What are you doing to me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where my mind goes.
Well, and if I'm honest and ethical as an employee and my manager or my boss or the owner is doing that kind of stuff, and he asked me to do a job, he or she asked me to do a job and I do it. And they're like, yeah, actually we're going to do this. It's like, dude, I just put my heart and soul into doing this the right way. And you're going to be an idiot and cut corners and do things like shady. Like, no, forget that. I don't want to be part of that. That's so frustrating. I've experienced that and I hate it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so good. That's so good.
I hate it when my honest employees don't want to cut corners with me. I'm just kidding. Well, okay. So, it's really interesting though, because we look at some of these, percentages, right? Obviously these are all really, really high percentages because these are companies who've been on this list multiple times. And let me back up here. And this is what I was going to get out earlier, but if we look just at the 2020 rankings, Hilton came in at number 1. Ultimate Software came in at number 2. I've never heard of them. And then Wegmans Food Markets came in at number 3 and Cisco came in at number 4. So, but if you look at then you go back and you look at their overall, satisfaction scores. Hilton, number 1 in 2020, had a 96% overall satisfaction score. Ultimate Software, who came in at number 2, had a 97% overall satisfaction. And so if we're just strictly looking at these satisfaction statements, it's clearly not giving us the full picture, right?
Sure.
And I want to make that clear that while these things that are listed here are feel good, cute, fluffy kinds of statements and things you get to report on, it feels good. As a business owner, you want your employees to say those things. You want that to be the environment. You want that to be the atmosphere in this work in your workplace. But if that's all you're striving for, you're missing the mark, right? And that's what I'm getting at is like, it's more than just what you offer in terms of, like you're saying, it's more than what you just offer in terms of compensation. It's more than what the culture is. It's more than what you offer in perks and benefits. It's this
combination. It's a package
gestalt.
deal.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. There you go.
Yeah.
Took me a second.
Yeah.
But
no, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of this breaks down to common sense, but we all know that common sense is not common. You got to take care of your employees, but you do have to pay them a livable wage. And it's sad when you see these small businesses that, their business structure is just such that they struggle to pay, the high competitive wages. And they have turnover, but not negative turnover. It's positive turnover. People keep moving forward and progressing their career. And I guess it kind of depends on what your goals are, because that's a pretty cool thing to do, is to help people, further their careers and have your business be one of those vehicles that makes that happen.
yeah.
But it's also challenging when you have to restart every couple of years because, once someone really starts getting good, they move on to something, that's a little bit bigger. And that's happening at large in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Where small businesses are struggling to keep talent because as a small business, it's really hard to have competitive wages and competitive benefits and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and one of the, you look at like what ways can you as a small business stand out to these employees, your would-be employees, right? It's a lot the same way that you look at what your customers want, right? You talk to your customers, you figure out what's important to them, what matters to them. You A/B test a little bit. You take the same approach with your employees. You freaking actually talk to them. Holy crap. Who would have thought? Oh my gosh. Well, I could go on and on about that, but if you don't take the time to figure out, to ask your employees, to figure out, have a conversation with them, take them to lunch, I don't know, but figure out what's important to them, and then figure out, okay, if this is the type of person that I want, then, and this one thing seems to be consistent among these three people that are like that, and I want more of that. How can I appeal to that?
Sure. But let me jump in with something. You can do all of those pieces, but if you don't have a pathway to promotion, you're not going to be able to promote from within. So,
Sure.
Sure. If you, and this is exactly how I would lay out the pathway to promotion. Look at your payroll and say, is there a logical progression or is it huge jumps? Do you have a situation where someone's going to go from making $15 an hour and then the next step is a $70,000 salaried position?
Yeah, right.
Because they're not going to feel comfortable with that. They're like, I went from entry level and now I'm supposed to be, middle management. And so if you want to promote within, then you need to have a pathway to promotion. You need to have it where it's like, okay, you can go from the $15 an hour entry level to the $20 an hour, floor supervisor to, now you're going to be a like a $40,000, kind of like junior staff, whatever it is in your company, to the $70,000, middle management, and progressing forward. And I think, and I don't know how much you wanted to, delve into this. We could really spend a lot of time, and I know that we need to kind of just wrap up on a couple key points here.
Yeah.
But as I'm looking at this, I am going back to that thought of, the common sense, where it's like, if you want people to work for you and be happy, golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. Don't do this arbitrary favoritism. Don't be stingy. Don't be greedy. Like, honestly, think of what your mom tried to teach you when you were little, and implement that in your business.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, there were so many times throughout this research that my mind kept going back to the book, The Speed of Trust.
Okay.
And I was just like, man, if that's how people could interact, make transactions essentially, as whether that's actual business transactions or whether that's personal interactions, I don't know. I just feel like things would be a lot better off if we would just take care of each other a little bit more and operate on that premise of, hey, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tromp all over you and your territory.
And
I'll respect you if you respect me.
That right there is the note we are going to wrap up on, is just respect people, care for people. Business is good, but it's only great when, people are enjoying it. The funny thing about business is everyone can win. You don't have to have winners and losers. You can have it to where everyone wins. And so, if you're the woman in charge or the guy in charge, take care of your people. If you're climbing that ladder, let them know. Give them some feedback. Tell them, hey, these are the things I like. These are the things I don't like. Honest, open, and so.
Yeah, I love it.
I appreciate you doing the research on that, because that gave us a great topic to discuss today, and so we're gonna go ahead and let you guys go. Thanks for tuning in. We love having you, and we will catch you at the next episode.
Take control of your business today. Go to LearnDesk.us and search Marketing Management and Money for the small business insights you've always wanted. Be sure to stay tuned for new episodes on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, and make sure to subscribe to be notified when we release bonus content such as interviews and short discussions.